Hi, welcome to valuationpodcast.com, a podcast and video series about all things related to business and valuation. My name is Melissa Gragg, and I'm a financial mediator and business valuation expert in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm speaking today with Michael Koeppel, and we've been doing a series about various valuation issues. Michael has actually been working for 30 years in various technology firms, manufacturing, service organizations, valuing firms, and also financing them in the startup area. He actually owns Lakelet Advisory Group located in New York. Why you would need a valuation if you're in this type of situation for converting to an S-corp?
Well, you need to take a look if you're going to convert to an S-corp or an S-corp to a C, but usually it's C to S, is to take a look at the tax savings, which could be significant. And you also have to take a look at the characteristics of the company. There's a lot of times where an S-corp may not be applicable, especially with regards to estate planning. It's going to depend on the industry, the size of the company, etc. You need someone to go through there and say, okay, here's the pros and cons, and here's the impact with regards to the estate and the business valuation. Now, if it's an estate planning and you're going to use an S-corp, there's significant advantage to doing that if the individuals you're going to be sharing the company with in the future are family members and less than 15 or 20 people. There are a whole host of reasons you may want to explore taking that avenue. But you need to check it. Don't use everybody's using the S-corp thing, so I'm going to change it. There might be a big got you down the road and do it. It is not easy going from back to a different corp. So once you go from a C to an S, you don't get a do-over and say, oh, this was a mistake. I'm going to go back from an S to a C because the tax ramifications to the individual I'm going to be sharing the company with in the future. Well, no, it doesn't work that way. Once you lock in, you're pretty well locked in, especially if you're doing ESOPs. There's significant ramifications between the two.
And why are we even required, or is it a requirement to do a valuation when you're converting to an S-corp?
You want to do a valuation and a financial analysis in advance. So once you pull the trigger, it's easy to pull the trigger. It's just a one-page form. I want to go from this form, but the ramifications are monumental. So you have to take a look at, okay, what's the impact of doing this? Not only with regards to tax, your marketability down the road, all a host of interests, the estate planning with the estate attorney or your financial plan. You need to go through all those and make sure that there's no got-yous down the road if you do this. And there's going to be some pros and cons. It's not that simple as people make it out to be. And you have to make an informed decision on all the options you picked. You say, okay, you're right. There are some disadvantages if I go to the S-corp, but there are greater advantages. But at least you have an informed decision, not a couple years later or the next year when you file your returns or an event, something ever happened to the owner. They can say, oh boy, if only I would have known this in advance.
Well, and I think that sometimes I'm seeing people convert, from a C corp to an S corp because in the future they do plan on selling in some capacity. Do you think that that is one of the major reasons that people are doing that, or is it, a host of other tax reasons?
I think it's a host of other tax reasons as well. If you're going to plan on selling the company, it all depends on who the buyer is. Now, if the buyer is a private equity firm or the type of sales, if they're not buying the assets, if they're buying the stock, what are you selling down the road? If you go to an S-corp without these informed decisions, you may be hurting yourself. You could, if you say, okay, it doesn't matter, I'm going to sell just the assets of the company and it's going to be the so-and-so group. And, this becomes the buyer's problem. Well, there's only so many problems you want to push down to the buyers. Or in some cases, it may be a great asset to the buyer. Again, it's on the planning. It's so oversimplified now, and it's really not a simplified decision to make with regards to your company. Now, does it save taxes? Generally, it will. But what are the ramifications? There's no such thing as a free ride. there's pros and cons to it, and you have to have that informative decision in a checklist to go through and do it. And sit down with someone experienced in this area, and they can tell you within a couple of hours the pros and cons of doing this.